You don't order delivery because you're hungry. You order it because you're too exhausted to be responsible for your own structure. It's not food. It's a shortcut to avoid collapse. The app glows on your phone like a digital sanctuary, whispering, "You don't have to deal with this right now." And you believe it. Even with a full fridge, even with cooked rice, even with ingredients waiting silently like frozen accusations. Delivery wins not when we're starving, but when we're emotionally defeated. We were taught that convenience is victory. But what if it's a trap? The glorification of ease hides an invisible collapse, the collapse of discipline. The modern mind has been trained to dodge friction, delay, resistance. Cooking, even the simplest meal, demands presence. It demands choice. It interrupts the digital anesthesia. You don't crave ready-made food. You crave freedom from decision-making, from dishes, from time, from stillness. You want to disappear for a moment and reappear with something ready at the door. You want to vanish from responsibility. Picture a temple stripped of altars, replaced by glowing screens filled with photos of comfort. Each tap is a symbolic surrender, of inner strength, of self-reliance, of your ability to endure boredom. Delivery doesn't just bring food, it delivers self-abandonment disguised as ease. Each time you give in, you reinforce the belief that you can't sustain yourself. This isn't about ordering pizza. It's about not being able to sit in the silence between hunger and action. You don't just lose money, you lose symbolic muscle, the art of waiting, the ritual of creation, the quiet ability to choose the harder path. Your body feeds on food, but your mind feeds on conquest. You think you chose delivery, but it chose you. From the moment tech started removing effort became the enemy. Anything that takes more than 3 clicks, 10 minutes, or 1 step off a straight line becomes a burden. The system saw that and monetized it. Convenience stopped being an option. It became the standard. And what's standard no longer feels like a choice. It feels like survival. That's how discipline dies, smothered by perfectly packaged ease. You don't avoid cooking out of laziness. You avoid it because your mind is burnt out from deciding all the time. A dopamine-flooded brain can't handle friction. A recipe asks for attention, for sequence, for presence. But your thoughts are fractured across tabs, alerts, expectations. Food, raw and waiting, demands a kind of mental commitment the system taught you to fear. Presence without immediate reward. That's why delivery wins. Not because it's better, but because you're too tired to fight for structure. And that ease has a cost. Every tap reinforces that the easiest path must be the right one. Over time, it doesn't just weaken discipline, it dissolves identity. Because those who can't tolerate effort outsource even their willpower. Cooking becomes rebellion. Waiting becomes a revolution. Choosing between what's already there and what's instantly delivered isn't just about food. It's about whether you still believe in your own agency. Delivery doesn't save you from work. It robs you of the proof that you still can. You think you're choosing the meal, but what you're really choosing, and without knowing, is relief. Relief from feeling, from thinking, from facing your fractured mental structure. Delivery isn't just logistical convenience, it's psychological anesthesia. It's the fast answer to the quiet ache of existing in a world where everything weighs. The job, the bills, the simplest tasks, even deciding what to eat. You don't click to eat. You click to disappear into a fantasy of control. Your body may thank you for the food, but your mind starts decaying within an invisible script of surrender. The smallest tasks, chopping, boiling, cleaning, now feel enormous. Not because they are hard, but because you were trained to believe you can't take one more thing. And the more this belief repeats, the more delivery becomes an emotional crutch. A ritual that whispers, "You've done enough. You deserve this." But that rest is now an excuse. And that excuse? A habit. There's a kind of hunger that doesn't show up in apps. A hunger to reconnect with your inner power, with the quiet ritual of preparing, with the self-esteem that's born from showing up for yourself. Every time you order with a stocked fridge, you silence that reconnection. Your mind registers, suffering is constant, effort is optional. But that logic is corrosive. Where relief is constant, strength vanishes. And what was once a rare escape becomes a lifestyle disguised as self-care. In the end, delivery doesn't win with quality. It wins with exhaustion, in the body of someone who no longer remembers how to cook without being emotionally collapsed. You don't believe in effort anymore. You believe in access, in ease, in frictionless solutions. The new sacred isn't ritual, it's the tap. And delivery is your daily prayer, where faith has moved from process to result. It no longer matters how the food arrives, only that it does, quietly, quickly, cleanly. The system turned convenience into morality. Choosing the easy path is no longer lazy, it's smart, efficient, evolved. But what looks like intelligence is often just escape with good PR. Have you noticed that you feel weaker, even while doing less? That everything feels heavier, even when it's easier? That's what life without friction does to you. When nothing demands effort, everything feels burdensome. That's how delivery becomes a silent drug, not for your stomach, but for your soul, which can't handle decisions anymore. Cooking becomes an emotional obstacle, a symbolic weight exposing chronic fatigue. And in that fatigue, you start trading away your autonomy. Discipline isn't just about routines. It's about remembering who owns your time. Every time you surrender that authority to a system that profits from your withdrawal, you drift further from yourself. Convenience comes with a silent cost, your ability to sustain your own existence. Not through grand gestures, but in small sovereign acts. Lighting the stove, peeling the garlic, choosing the spice. This isn't just dinner, it's identity. You're not losing to delivery. You're being trained to forget that you can still win. Have you noticed how delivery thinks for you? It knows your habits, your hunger, your weaknesses. It pings you at the exact moment your discipline begins to crack. This isn't just convenience, it's prediction. Algorithms shaping your appetite, your routine, your choices. You're not deciding, you're being guided. Every automatic order reinforces a brutal truth. The smarter the system becomes, the less you need to be. Convenience became anesthesia, and all anesthesia comes with a side effect, and you stop feeling. First the fatigue, then the frustration, eventually the ability to resist. Delivery gives you food but steals your margin of action. No need to think about menus, prep time, ingredients. And at first that feels like freedom. But what is freedom without awareness? It's programming. Your brain gets used to choosing the shortest path and begins to believe that effort is oppression, that discipline is punishment, that cooking is a waste of time. You didn't ask for this. You were convinced that ordering is better than preparing. This is how sovereignty is dismantled, not by force but by habit. Every night when hunger beats structure, delivery grows stronger as a symbolic force. It's no longer a service. It's a lifestyle, or worse, an escape plan. And the cruelest twist, you start calling it self-care. But self-care that weakens discipline is not care. It's emotional sabotage with a pleasant user interface. Instant pleasure detaches you from your deeper power. This isn't about your diet. It's about your spiritual autonomy, the voice that says, I can carry this. When that voice fades, the app takes control. You don't need to stop ordering food. You need to remember who you were before it became essential, before routine became escape, before the fridge felt like pressure, before cooking felt impossible. This was never about the app. It was about what it represents. A solution so easy it became an unquestioned truth. But the truth is this: not all hunger is urgent. Not everything needs to arrive fast, and what comes ready rarely teaches anything. There's a hunger that isn't in your stomach, it's in your soul, longing to feel capable again. Capable of washing a dish without breaking, of preparing a meal without panic, of feeding yourself after a hard day, not as duty, but as ritual. You don't need to become a chef. You don't need to turn your kitchen into boot camp, you just need to break the loop. Open the fridge. Try. Slice something in silence. Heat what you already have. And in that motion, reclaim, I still can. The system wants you to forget, Because a human who no longer believes they can feed themselves is a perfect, obedient consumer. But cooking, even simply, is a symbolic uprising. It's not about nutrition. It's about presence. About building a life that isn't built entirely on shortcuts. Because real comfort doesn't come from avoiding effort. It comes from realizing effort doesn't destroy you. It reveals you. There's food in your house. Still, you order. Because what you crave isn't nourishment. It's a break from being the one who holds everything together. Because heating leftovers feels like a confrontation with your own depletion. And so the app wins, not because it feeds you, but because it silences the collapse. Map of occult reprogramming, not for convenience, for reclamation of will, time, and nervous system sovereignty. Tonight, don't click. Breathe. Open the cupboard. Touch what's there. Relearn your true hunger. Because as long as you need an app to feed yourself, you'll believe you need to be saved from your own routine. Comment below. When was the last time you cooked with pride, not panic? Share this video with someone who lost the joy of preparation. Subscribe for the next confrontation. Not all hunger is for food. Not every delivery nourishes.